He was a playboy and love played him. In the heart of a golden city of gold where skyscrapers reached to the sky and people never slept, lived Karim, a man of power, charm, and ruthless ambition. He was wealthy beyond imagination, the owner of luxury hotels, nightclubs, and high-end boutiques. His name was whispered in business meetings, printed in magazines, and murmured in hushed conversations at lavish parties. But Karim's wealth was not his only power. He was a predator. Young, hopeful women fell at his feet, believing his lies, only to be left with shattered dreams and babies they never planned for. And though he thought himself untouchable, the gods were watching. One evening, Alisha, a 19-year-old university student, stood outside a 5-star restaurant, staring at the glittering city beyond. She had dreams, big dreams, but no money to chase them. That was when Karim's sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled up beside her. The tinted window slid down, revealing his dangerously handsome face. He smiled, a smile that had ruined many before her. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said smoothly. "Come inside. Let me take care of you." Alicia hesitated, but when she saw the gold Rolex on his wrist, the expensive cologne wrapping around her like a spell, she stepped inside. That night, he took her to the most expensive penthouse in the city. Champagne, soft music, diamond bracelets placed around her wrists like handcuffs. "You're special," he whispered. And she believed him. That night she gave in to his demands, something she would regret. But Karim's love had an expiration date. He had done this countless times before. He sought out young women with big dreams and small wallets. He promised them love, success, and a life of luxury. For weeks he spoiled them, expensive trips, designer bags, whispered sweet nothings. Then, when they got pregnant, everything changed. "That's not my child," he would say coldly. "You knew what this was." One by one they were discarded. Some struggled to raise their babies alone, some dropped out of school, some were left homeless, hopeless. And still Karim felt no remorse. Alicia was no exception. One day, Alicia saw another girl, a younger, softer girl, wearing the same golden earrings he had given her. The same stolen words that had once made her heart race now belonged to someone else. Pain ripped through her. She ran to Karim, her voice breaking. "You said I was the only one." Karim only sighed as if she was a burden. "Love does not last forever, my dear. Don't cry. You were happy for a time, were you not?" Alicia's world shattered. She had given him her heart, and he had crushed it like a dying ember. But she was not the first. Zara, Halima, Ifa, Mariam, all had once believed in Karim's love. All had been left with shattered life, until the river goddess decided it was time for his punishment. One night, after another reckless conquest, Karim found himself driving alone through the city streets. The rain pounded against his windshield, and the radio played soft jazz. Then suddenly, a woman stood in the middle of the road. Karim slammed on the brakes, his heart racing. "Am I dreaming?" he thought. The woman did not move. She was breathtaking, skin like flowing water, eyes glowing green, hair twisting like waves. She was dressed in a silk gown that shinned like the ocean under moonlight. She stepped closer. The rain did not touch her. Who are you?" Karim stammered. Her lips curled into a knowing smile. "I am Mami Wata, the guardian of the lost souls you have abandoned." His stomach twisted. "Listen, I don't want any jokes." Mami Wata raised her hand. The rain stopped mid-air. The streetlights flickered and switched off. "You have taken without giving," she whispered. "You have created life only to destroy it. Now the life you cherish most, your own, will crumble before you." Karim felt a sudden burning in his chest. He gasped, clutching at his throat. His skin began to tighten, harden. He stumbled out of the car, falling to his knees, still not knowing whether it's reality or a dream. His reflection in the puddle twisted into something horrifying. His smooth skin cracked into golden scales. His once perfect hands turned into clawed fingers. His face twisted, his smile, once charming, now a monstrous grimace. The man who once used beauty and wealth to trap women had become a monster. Mami Wata tilted her head. Let's see if any of those women you discarded will help you now. And with that she vanished into the night. The next morning Karim tried to hide. He avoided mirrors. He paid doctors to cure him, but none could explain his affliction. His business partners pulled away. His women disappeared. The city that once worshipped him now whispered behind his back. Soon his wealth crumbled, his clubs shut down, his luxurious cars were repossessed. And then the final blow. A video surfaced. One of the women he had abandoned, Zara, had told her story on social media. The world finally saw him for what he truly was. Not a powerful businessman. Not a generous lover. But a fraud, a liar, a destroyer of lives. Overnight, Karim became an outsider. Alone, broken, and desperate, he turned to the only person who had ever loved him. Alicia. Alicia had moved on. She was now a social worker, helping single mothers who had been used and discarded, just like she once was. When Karim arrived at her doorstep, he was unrecognizable. His once perfect skin was covered in golden scales, his eyes, once magnetic, now filled with regret. Alicia, he croaked, please help me. Alicia stared at him. For a long time she said nothing. Then, finally, she let him in, not out of love, but out of mercy. Karim, humbled and broken, spent his last days helping the very women he had once hurt. He donated his last wealth to support single mothers. He visited hospitals, cared for abandoned children, and begged for forgiveness. And though the world never forgot his sins, he finally found peace. His body withered, his curse consuming him piece by piece until one day he was gone. But his story lived on. Alicia told it to every young woman who needed a warning. And as she sat by youth center, telling her story to a young girl named Amina, she smiled, because this time the cycle would not repeat. Justice had been served. And love, the true kind, had prevailed.